Okay, that looks to me like it's 11 o'clock. Yeah. Pretty close, isn't it?
Hopefully 10 o'clock.
10 rather, yeah, 10. Well, maybe I'm in a hurry to get out of here or something.
Well, that'd be okay too.
Okay, join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What do I do with my agenda? It's right on top. Hiding in plain sight.
That happens.
Okay, I hear a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
A motion from Mark, and support from Kathy to approve the agenda. I may have an item or two under both old and new business. We'll see what comes up in the manager's comments. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Agenda is approved. The minutes for our November 22nd meeting. Good to everybody. Any changes we need to make? I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve.
Support.
A motion from Kathy, support from Mark to approve the minutes of the November 22nd meeting. Any discussion or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. They are approved. So we have before us the bills.
Can I ask a question, Gary?
Yes.
What is, I'm hoping that total of $1,525,127 is wrong.
Nope,
Nope,
correct.
that's right.
We had $800,000 worth of paving to Gherkin and almost $400,000 for a truck.
Okay, all right. I don't have that, so.
Yeah, they're the big ticket items this time.
I'm sure there'll be discussion.
So what do you want to tackle first? Want to do the bills first?
Sure.
Do I hear a motion to approve the,
I would move to approve the accounts payable dated 11/29 and 12/13.
okay, I hear support.
Support.
Support, okay, so I have a motion from Kathy and a support from Mark to approve the accounts payables of 11/29/23 in the amount of $401,716.83, and the bills of 12/13/23 in the amount of $1,525,127.28. Okay, so you have questions or discussion now on the bills.
The Gherkin bill, let's see if I find it, $816,000. And was that primarily, it's Camden Road and Montgomery Road resurface?
Yes.
And a crush and shape, and are we all done paying for our materials then for the road work we did this past summer, fall?
We still have one that we just got that didn't get into this payable, so they'll probably be on the next payables.
And how much is that approximately?
I can't remember off the top of my head, I think it was 40?
40,000, not 400,000?
No, not 400.
Okay. And is it with regard to Camden and Montgomery, or is it something else?
I believe
Yes, that's everything from Gherkin. Yep.
Okay.
So
that has to do with, that paves over the Camden Road Bridge too.
yeah, Camden Road Bridge is in that total.
For paving,
Yes.
They had to pave, once we built the bridge, they had to pave.
pave over it.
Yeah.
Which is, that in the grand scheme of things was a very small sum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Between Montgomery Road and that.
Mhm.
Did you have something you was gonna ask, Gary?
The bill here on the Montgomery Road is one of those for that last mile that we put down?
Yes,
Okay.
I wanna say that was in the high threes for that 1 mile, we maybe even touched 400,000.
Well, there's a bill here for $344,000.
Okay, that was probably it then.
Whatever became of the Gherkin, mistake on Camden Road?
We met with them out there with Charlie and them, they reduced their bill, I don't have the exact figure, but we came to an agreement, Charlie marked out, where the bad spots were, and he had a whole spreadsheet of, and they agreed to come back and they reduced the bill by, I hate to say,
I didn't see it.
40, 50,000, I think.
But they did fix the,
They fixed them and then they reduced the overall bill.
okay.
So if they fixed them, how did we get a bill reduction as well? How did we get both?
I mean,
If they fixed the problem area, that was on them.
once they fixed it, and all the bills were done, then they took off.
So they charged us for fixing it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
piece I missed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Then
There
you
you go.
sat down and
Everything-
negotiated a
Yep.
final,
Okay.
Everything was done and then
Right.
they had a final bill and then they backed that bill off.
So how much did they charge us to fix it? So I guess how much savings how much extra did we have to pay for the error that happened?
I don't have that figure offhand, but.
Can you
we find
email that to us later? I'm just curious as to what the fixed cost and then how much they stood versus how much we stood.
Okay.
And what I'm hearing is we may have got a credit about $50,000, so what was their portion of that?
I can dig into that.
All right, thanks.
And then the truck. So it sounds like the truck is on the way.
That's what I just got off the phone a few minutes ago
Might
with
be
the,
pulling in, ain't you?
with the vendor that we haven't sent them the check yet, cause you guys approved the check right here.
No, it got approved.
And so they haven't received anything, but the owner of the company went ahead and shipped the first truck anyway. Banking on us doing it, I guess, so it's not a big deal, we'll get it sooner. But after today, we will send them the check and the lease agreement for the other two. And that way, everything's all sent to them. Couple days to ship them to us and
We'll be ready.
So with the weather report that we have, might still get them before the next snowstorm.
maybe. Kind of looking that way. I don't mind that.
No,
Okay, any other questions on the bills? If not, then all in favor of the motion to approve the bills, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. The bills are approved.
And 3 of them?
Yes. Because there's two accounts payable and one EFT report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. is it flipped? Let's see, it's stamp, oh, no, that's signature. Has the page come off or something?
Apparently did. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, came off on that one.
Okay. Alright. Four signatures on that, so we're good.
Finished there too. 4 of them.
Four.
Okay, so now we have the payroll in front of us.
Move to approve the payroll dated 12/7/2023, the amount of $101,823.13.
Support.
We have a motion from Kathy and support from Mark to approve the payroll of 12/7/23 in the amount of $101,823.13. Any questions, comments?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. The motion is approved.
That's got four.
We're all set there.
Okay, so now we move to the treasurer's report.
Beginning cash and investment balance is $492,477.24. Total receipts is $491.19. Total accounts payable and payroll is $2,028,667.24. Bonds and escrow is $10,250. CD reserve for 2 trucks is $629,182.61. Ending available fund balance is $2,435,868.58. And outstanding accounts payable right now, they're a credit of $155.67.
Okay. Any questions on the treasurer's report? Okay, thank you, Katie. So we will open the floor up for public comment. I'd ask that you limit your comments to no more than 4 minutes, and you stand and state your name if you want to make a public comment. Anybody? Public comment time? Okay, then we'll move on to the manager's comments. Our public hearing on the budget is until 10:30, so we will proceed with.
When we get there, just cut me
Yeah.
off and
Yeah.
if I'm still going.
What about Stone Cold?
They're down farther in old business.
I bet one at the top.
Do we wanna have Stone Cove do their presentation or go through theirs now? How long do you think it'll take?
How many questions do you have? It's pretty straightforward. I mean,
We have about 15 minutes.
yeah, I think it'd take 15.
Okay,
Yeah, depending on the time, right? So,
proceed.
all right. So I just want to give a brief overview. Let's look at the colored map, just so we get all on the same page. So This is our Moscow operation in Moscow Township, right off the Chicago Road there. In the yellow outlines are all areas that are proposed for future mining activities, right? And the main area that we're mining is the East Lake there, that you see inside the main yellow lines. That's all within our property there. This is a little bit of an older Google image, but we've pretty much mined through the most northwest portion of the West Lake as well.
Could I just stop a moment?
Mhm.
So on this map,
Yes.
help me out, which directions are north, south, east, and west?
North is where the one parcel.
North is the.
Yeah. Well, north.
US 12 runs along the bottom edge.
Okay. That helps, thank you.
Yep, no problem. And then so we have a dredge in the East Lake that is dredging some of the stuff that's below the surface water. We also have a parcel. We own a parcel west of Bivens Road, right? And we've mined pretty much through all of the dry reserves, and have had drag lines, contracted drag lines, mined into the water on the west side here. So pretty much all the way up to the power lines, we've mined all the way through that area, right? And so we're at the point, right, where we need to make a decision on, how we get through the road. So we, got with the road commission, invited them into the office, and Kathy came, and we sat down and discussed, some of the options that we had. We figured it would be important to get in front of all the commissioners to kind of introduce the project and our thoughts, right? So we have two different options that we can go through Bivens Road underneath with, typically it's a 96-inch culvert pipe that we set, and there's a temporary road closure through that process to get to the other side of it. But what we'd also like to propose is going through the road completely, and abandoning a 1,200-foot portion of the road there. We've done this in other areas with really, really good success within the community, right? We go through the process of abandoning it with the road commission and then through the township, and we pay for all the engineering costs and stuff like that to do that. Typically, you end up with a cul-de-sac at the end of the road, to allow emergency vehicles at the northern section of Bivens that gets abandoned, and then so that we could access the materials on the other side of the road. So what that would do is, increase the lake size from, I think it was about 250 acres to about a 360 acre lake. So the end use of this property is public access lake. So it'd be completely public access, and there's about a 20-year lifespan to get to that point. But yeah, just kind of wanted to introduce the project, and then the other two maps kind of show, what it would look like without that road, and then what it would look like with the road, right? So, yeah, I'd love to hear any questions. And again, I'm Austin Fisher. I didn't introduce myself. Austin Fisher with Stonco, the West Operations Manager for this site and all the other sites on the west of 127 for Stonco.
So the difference in these two is one is Bivens Road gone, one is out.
Correct. Yep. And so, we talked to the supervisor, Bill, in Moscow. We've had some public hearings and public comments about this issue and presenting these plans. Most of the public comments, were about the operation itself, not necessarily the road closure, right? So, we do have support from neighboring parcel owners and the farmers and stuff like that. There's concerns, right, about our physical operation. We're not moving the plant, right? So a lot of this stuff is, to get access over there is actually, eventually we'd float the dredge across there, right? And this would be years down the road, right? So we're in a mining area where the dredge probably isn't gonna be moving for the next 5 years. We connect those two lakes with the dredge and, work the dredge, sucking up material, below the water surface and then sending it back to the plant. So it's a lot less invasive. There's no crushers that are moving on the west side of the road, so it's a pretty low impact. Whereas with a pipe and getting conveyors, it's a much more impact, driven, way to mine, that process, so.
Obviously, there's no houses on Bivens Road.
On the south end of it.
Yeah, just on the south end there. But we own about a 1,300 foot section, but just the section that would be abandoned would be about 1,200 feet of roadway. But with this whole project, right, there's, conversations of, what we can do for the township and how we can improve some of the roadways there locally. So we've kind of come to, come up with some ideas, right, of improving that roadway there. So, top dressing, regrading, and essentially reconstructing that section of Bivens Road up to the abandonment, with fresh gravel, road grading, to kind of improve that, as well as the construction of a cul-de-sac and access down there. So, which I think a lot of people would really benefit from, especially those residents there on Bivens Road.
What's your preference?
This has really gotta be a board thing, we have talked about it in the past, the whole abandonment, I think could cause issues later down the road for other things in the county when it comes to if we abandon this because a company owns both sides of the road and they wanna go through it. At what point do we then allow the farmers, because they own both sides, to take out the fence row and farm through it? There's those all over the county. I don't know if that's a can of worms anybody wants to open or not, but when it comes to Bivens Road itself, I don't believe, this is just my personal opinion, but just mere regrading and graveling of the road does not a whole lot for them. If it was gonna get improved at all, I would say it needs to be a hard surface, but again.
Could I say something?
Go ahead, Bob.
They said they had approval of some of the residents. Have you got approval of all the residents on Busy Road?
I don't think I have like every individual person on Bivens Road, no.
I would say I attended Moscow meetings, and I know there were at least 2 residents from that road who were adamantly opposed to abandoning it.
What is there, about 12?
Yes.
I don't know how many are on there, but I know 2 showed up to the meeting and were not in favor of the abandonment. And when the road commission made their decision to not abandon the road, then they quit showing up to the meetings.
So, Bob Griffiths, I have a question. So if we as a road commission were to decide we wanted to go down the road, at least pursue the abandonment process, I know we have to hold at least one public hearing, is that correct?
One, if not 2.
Yeah.
And then they would eventually have to go through circuit court.
Oh, really?
To abandon the road, you got
You petition it to the
Yeah.
circuit court. There's one there's a whole rules, right, you know, of abandonment, right? So, you know, we would petition the road commission. The road commission would then hold a public hearing, and then, you know, there would be some sort of declaration of abandonment if the road commission decided to do that. There'd also be an abandonment proclamation done by the township as well. So it's two pieces, because once the road commission abandons it, then it's taken over by the township entity, right? And then that, with those two series of abandonments, then it's petitioned to the circuit court and filed, right? And that's when it's official that the road is abandoned. So that's the kind of the process that it goes through.
So if I understand your, long-term plan here, is that Bivens Road would permanently disappear in this section and would actually at some point in time forward become part of a lake that would
Yes.
extend west of the current Bivens Road.
Yep. Yes. And, you know, to the comment on the farmers and access on both sides of the roads, like, I don't think it's apples to apples to compare the two situations, right? Because a farmer is not, you know, taking a road out to create public access to, you know, a public body of water eventually, right? So like there is a benefit to the community of access points. You know, long-term plans is our main entrance is a access point with either some sort of, you know, boat ramp or public access with pavilion sites and things along those lines that, you know, the lake currently is, you know, in areas 30, 40, 50 feet deep, right? So there's a lot of great fishing in it now, and you know, would be pretty much an all sports public lake down the road.
Looking at this map, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dwellings that are effectively cut off from emergency vehicles due to the closing of Bivens Road,
On which,
That'd be a Mosierville Road.
on Moserville Road.
so Moserville's access from both sides, Round Lake and Moscow Road, and a lot of the support that we do have are those residences there.
Well, if I am driving a fire truck and I have to go to this dwelling, I can come down 12 and go up Bivens Road to that dwelling. If that road is closed, I have to go clear to Round Lake Road and then come back.
Yeah.
And that could be the distance or difference between fire truck getting there on time and the fire truck getting there not on time. And I do know many farmers that I have talked with, and it's not a threat, it's it's something they would like to do. You know, I own to the center of the road, both sides.
Sure.
There's nobody living there. Well, I'm just gonna petition the road commission and I'll farm and clear through. And then the county road commission's got 2 roads instead of 1 to take care of, basically. I mean, they can go down, turn around and come back. I guess at this point I'd state that I would be opposed to it. You can put your tunnel under there and run your pipelines, so you still have access to your other property. And quite possibly when you're done, you'll have 2 lakes, 3 lakes. Well, you'll have 1 big lake and 1 smaller lake. And so that would probably equal out as far as selling lake lots.
I mean, it's not our intention to sell that, the
No.
lake lots. It's gonna be completely,
They're not leaving enough room around the edge for lake
no,
lots.
Oh,
it's a full public, yeah,
Oh, it's not
yeah,
a
so
development.
it's not gonna be developed.
No, so for Moscow Township, who will be the end recipient of
Yeah.
this, they will be handed something that's gonna take money to maintain without generating any tax revenue to do it with.
I mean,
Unless they
the
charge
township
for
could
fishing.
decide to, you know, split off lots and stuff like that, I think.
But you didn't leave enough room to split lots off, is my understanding, around the lake.
No, it's certainly possible to split off lots around the lake.
I was told you didn't leave enough room to keep a berm plus allow building lots around the lake because how close you're going to the roads.
And there'd have to be sewer installed because there wouldn't be enough.
Again, that was my understanding, because I asked that question. I said, is this set up so that the township can develop building sites?
They-
And I was told no.
We certainly could, not every square inch of the lake, no, but there's areas that are developable, for sure.
Mark, as far as public sewer there, with the soils and the gravel, on-site sewage systems work perfect in those kinds of conditions.
Right, but if they didn't leave enough room along the lake for one, you'll have to put in public sewer.
Well, potentially,
As far as like the road improvement, I think, sorry,
do we wanna
Oh,
switch
right.
over to the,
yeah,
Yes,
pretty quickly.
sorry.
yeah, I don't think we'd be opposed to improving that to, an asphalt road either, by any means, right? So, just, we didn't have vehement support of that with all the residents on that road, right? So, I don't think we'd be opposed to that by any means, so, you know, we'd be interested in doing that for the public as well, so.
Well, we thank you for coming and making your
Thank you.
presentation. It certainly with the maps and your comments makes it a lot clearer than just talking about it theoretically.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so, I will open the public hearing on the 2024 proposed budget for the Hillsdale County Road Commission. So, anybody who is in attendance wish to make any comments or raise questions about the 2024 proposed budget? Now's the time to do that.
And I guess just to clarify a little bit on this, I highlighted this is the proposed 24, the amended 23, and the approved 23 all in one. But the highlighted is 24 is what we're looking at. And on the bottom right, I added the dates of when each of those would get approved. Or have been approved.
Yeah, the 22nd, we okayed the proposed.
The proposed,
Right.
yeah. And so now if it gets approved here, then I'll change everything to approved and change that date.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything's the same as what you approved on the 22nd.
So just for the information of everybody in the crowd, after we close this budget hearing, then we will, at some point in time before the meeting is over, take a vote on a final approval of the 2024 budget. We're mandated by state law to advertise this public hearing and now hold it, give public the opportunity to make comments or raise questions about the 2024 proposed budget before we can move forward. So that's the purpose of the hearing.
Gary, if I may, I would think it would be beneficial to state in the public hearing that the proposed 2024 budget has total revenue estimated at $15,342,359.89. The proposed 2024 expenditure budget amount is $17,396,800, with an estimated beginning fund balance of $5,705,955, a reduction in fund balance for 2024 of $2,054,544.11, which an estimated ending fund balance for 2024 would be $3,651,514.89.
Thank you, Kathy.
I guess maybe for some clarification on that, if you want, most of that is because of the territorial road bridges, the portion we have to pay, and the equipment purchases.
Which kind of talks about the decrease in the fund balance,
Yes,
the annual
yes,
wage.
yes.
And, one of the reasons the fund balance at the end of 2022 was as large as it was, we did not plan on having that as large as it was. But when the former manager left in April a year ago, there were some projects that we had intended to do that got pushed back. And at one point in time, those two bridges probably were in that budget. And the two bridges alone, that project's about what, $3.2 or $3.3 million?
almost 3.5.
Okay, almost $3,500,000 for those two bridges on Territorial
And our
Road.
portion's
20%.
20% of that, so that'd be about $700,000.
And that was projected to be done in 23. On the 23 budget, I mean, it had to be pushed to the 24.
So, anybody with any questions?
Yeah, how can we get any more money?
Well, I think you raise a good question, Mark, and, so one of the challenges we have is getting additional revenue from both the feds and the state. This year we applied, just for information, we applied for 4 bridge funding projects for future years with the state. We have to do that by the 1st of April of every year. And we got word, a month or 6 weeks ago, that we didn't qualify for funding on any of those 4 projects. So we will reapply again in early 2024. And they have indicated that one of them might get approved the next go round. So
Hog Creek or?
No, that,
the one,
that's one of the 4 that we applied
the
for.
one I think it near Mosierville.
Okay, yeah,
That's the one.
that one, okay.
And at least partly because that's a fairly heavily traveled road.
Yeah, more than Hog Creek. But
Yeah,
Traffic volume plays a big
Yeah.
portion of that.
the 2 bridges in Wright Township that have been there a long time and both have 10 or 12 ton load limits on them, neither one gets very much traffic. So that's an issue to get them approved. So, Doug,
Doug Ingles, County Commissioner. On the $17 million expenditure, it's a positive to see a $2 million lowering of the fund balance spending. It's money spent and well spent on the projects that the Road Commission does. I'm glad to see that. As well, just a comment in looking at the proposed maintenance, it's up on primary roads, almost $2 million, over $2 million. Local roads, while it is down a chunk of money, there's still a big investment on local roads. So it seems that the way the budget is put together, we still will have improvement on our road commission, in our county. So that would be my comment. And I think it is important to have public comment for your feedback.
Yeah.
So I see a positive in spending some of the fund balance.
thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Chris Wingate. With these federal grants and some of the state grants, there's some concern throughout the county that that you have to obey any potential executive orders, or is that verbiage in some of these grants? And I'm wondering if it is. I know it's in the ARPA. They have you have to obey executive orders. If they're in there, is there a scope or the parameters where executive orders have authority in this jurisdiction only instead of just they could throw anything at you and make you obey it? I think it would relieve a lot of skepticism or fear in the general population if they knew what that was.
Well, anything that has to do with, like up in the very top left corner, where it talks about federal sources.
Right.
If it comes into those federal sources, yes, they're gonna dictate what you can and can't do and how you gotta do it. That's always been, there's no change to that. The rest is still under our control, this
Yeah, I
board.
understand that, the rest, but, I'm going with the ARPA, I don't know how this contract or whatever is worded, but is there any open, like, any potential executive orders that down the road that it's not spelled out in this contract with your grant, that it says that you do have to obey, and if there is,
Not that I know of. Nothing that is out of the ordinary. Because the two is the safety grant and the other are like some federal aid grants that, to do some of our road maintenance, and it's pretty much, I don't wanna say cut and dry, but it's for specific things, and they're already, set up, and
Yeah.
all we gotta do is, enact and then go through the process of doing the project. There's really nothing new or new strings tied or anything
Yeah,
like
there,
that.
some people are worried, like with the ARPA funds, that all of a sudden they could throw a gun control act in, something that's totally irrelevant, so.
Well, the road commission gets no ARPA money.
Yeah, I understand that, but I was just using that for an example, that potentially that's in some of your grants, that verbiage.
No, not that I know of.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
So I have a motion from Mark and a support from Kathy to close the public hearing on the 2024 proposed budget. Any discussion?
Can I say one more thing? A few meetings ago, we were talking about the brush spray, and you mentioned that it was approved through the FDA because it's water soluble. Is there, anybody ever look into going organic? Because it's like vinegar and Dawn dish soap or something like that, and it's non-toxic, it's organic. Because we're inundating the countryside with chemicals. You know, I live in the middle of farm territory, and sometimes I smell the Roundup they spray out in the fields, and it's just, you're just throwing that out there, planting seeds, start going organic.
Okay. Okay, so all in favor of the motion to close the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, so we move forward. So do you want to give me a motion to approve the 2024 budget now? Do you want to come back to it under new business?
Let's get it out of the way. I propose that we, accept the 2024 proposed budget to be our approved budget for 2024.
Support.
Okay, so I have a motion from Kathy and a support from Mark to approve the 2024 proposed budget as our permanent budget for the 2024 fiscal year. And I believe we need a roll call vote on this.
I have Gary Leinecker,
Yes.
Mike Harney,
Yes.
Kathy Schmidt,
Yes.
Mark Klein.
Yes.
Okay, so the budget is approved. So we can move forward, Mr. Manager, for 2024. Okay. All right, so we will then now come back to your report.
Was there anything else that?
I just, where do we go from here next, right? You know, do we come back in another meeting and discuss, you know, how we proceed, right? And, I really wouldn't like to close the door on this, I guess, you know, as far as, you know, discussion on it. And, now that you guys know and see the project, maybe think about it a little bit. And, I'd be happy to meet anybody out there. I know we met Kathy and Bob out there. I'd be happy to host and show everyone what we do and how we operate. And, you know, it's not only, you know, the end use, right, of the lake, but the resource there for the county. We do a lot of work with the county, and it is a consistent material supply to the community too, so.
My thoughts would be, I really would prefer that we have all 5 members of the board, you know, get the opportunity to discuss this at least one more time.
Sure.
I think that we've at least have taken maybe a tentative position on it, which was, we're, not in favor of closing the road. But I think, now since you've made your proposal and it is helpful to see the maps and so forth, but, so at one of our meetings in January, if you wanna come back,
Sure.
you're welcome to do that. And Bob, are you gonna be here in January, or you're going to Florida?
No, I will be there.
Wow.
But I do have a question.
Yes,
They reverted to when the road was closed, that the road would go back to the township. I don't think that's true. It goes back to the landowners. If you own on both sides of that road reverts back to the landowners.
Bob's correct.
okay.
There's a whole sheet of rules from the
Yeah,
state,
that's
so
what I'm saying.
I can't remember the exact detail, but there's
Yeah.
like a whole process, there's a Michigan law on it,
Well,
so.
Bob's been on the road commission for over 20 years,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, Bob's probably right.
He may be the expert,
Yeah.
at least locally.
Yeah.
So I think you guys probably have to meet as a board again at one of your meetings, discuss it maybe some more. I think at that point, you probably need to set an official, maybe
Position.
well, not just a position then, but, another meeting with the residents or anybody concerned
I got open
as
for,
Like a public hearing.
a public hearing.
Yeah.
hearing.
And I would say here, and maybe even have something there.
I think the township,
But
regardless, would definitely have another public hearing, right, on this matter, so I don't think that book is closed just yet, so.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll get with you then, Bob, then to see, when the next meetings are and.
okay, yeah, so we're gonna decide some of our meetings later.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, wait, could you write your names right?
Sure.
So I spelled correctly.
Okay, Bob, proceed with your report.
All right, let's see, I will kind of address, I guess, what you were asking about for, the spray, because that's one of the things that I'm bringing up. Under the Dalton Incorporated, they're the ones that have done our brush spray programs in the past, and they're asking us to, extend their bids for the next year. There's some minor changes to it, but, in the grand scheme of things, it's not too bad. When it comes to the organic, no, we haven't looked at that, because while that may work in some instances, it doesn't work on everything that we need it to work on. So the brush is really taken over, and we gotta do something to get the brush taken care of. Maybe at some point in the future, we can and should look at, is there other options of maybe a lighter footprint that it would cause? But I think as it is right now, these are water soluble chemicals that are approved by EPA. So they're probably about as good as you're gonna get right now, other than if you made up something of your own, like you said, with vinegar and soap, and I don't know how well that works on Shumic and all that. So anyway, their proposal is and what they're doing is they're going away from a per gallon cost to a per mile cost. So it'd be a little easier to budget, because we never really know how many gallons they're gonna spray at any given
How
time.
many miles they're gonna spray.
And we can tell them how many miles we want. And what we did this year, what I'd like to keep going is a quarter of the county, and basically that comes out to 307 miles a year, so we can figure it right out. And then they also have the guardrail spray that they do in the spring, which they go around and hit all the guardrail. Same thing, they're doing a by foot cost on that instead of a per gallon or whatever. No, actually, no, sorry. On the guardrail, they've always done it per foot. They're just adjusted at 2 cents per foot this year. So that being said, they're asking if we can let them know, and their per cost is $170 per center line mile, so that's both sides of the road, which on that 307, not sure I did what I think, on that 307 miles, that's gonna be roughly a little over 52,000 a year. I was gonna ask that if you would approve the bid extension for a no greater than amount of 55,000 a year. That would let us do at least a quarter of the county a year. And with the guardrails going from 10 cents a foot to 12 cents a foot, that makes a difference of about $1,400. I mean, so in the grand scheme of things, that's not too bad. They haven't raised their prices in like 6 years. So that's two different contracts, basically, one for guardrail and one for brush spray, that they're asking if we wanna extend that. And I think they've done a very good job. They do it quickly, and of course the guardrail gets done in the spring to take care of the guardrail, and the brush spray gets done in the fall where it blends in with the brownout. It is a slower brownout with this than in the past, and so it's not as drastic to the public. And I guess I would be asking that, last year we did the southeast corner of the county, we did southwest, we do the southeast this year. And we'll just kind of make our way around.
Work your way around. So you're asking for a motion then to?
Yes.
The 10 cents to 12 cents is a 20% increase, just so we know. And then, the increase on the per mile, we don't have a figure for the per mile? Or do we have a figure for the per mile based on what we paid and how many miles we did?
All we've got is based on what we paid in the past, and last year was a very small amount, and it was like just shy of 29,000. In the years past, we went back and looked, and they were right at that 50,000 is what we paid in the past for the spray. So even with them going up a little bit, that still puts us in the 50,000 to do a quarter of the county.
And you're talking $170 per mile, and that's both sides of the road?
Center line, yes.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I wrote down and processed correctly what you said. Okay, thank you.
So if they come in with a price that exceeds the 50,000, then we gotta renegotiate or?
No, they won't.
Okay.
Well, because it's gonna say, the thing will say not to exceed, and 55 gives a little bit of wiggle room, but they're really good about, they go by our certified miles book, and so if that says that road's 4.6 miles,
Right.
that's what they charge.
Okay.
No matter what, they spawn up spraying on it. So if we tell them we want them to do 307 miles, they'll do 307 miles.
Well, I will make the motion to,
Contract with
Contract.
Dalton.
Yes, there you go, thank you. Thank you. Why didn't you make the motion? Contract with Dalton for the roadside spraying
And guardrail. And guardrail.
and guardrails, yes, we gotta include guardrails.
Support.
Not to exceed 55,000.
For the spray, and the other one is, I mean, they've actually quoted that at $8,020.80 would be our normal guardrail that we do every year.
Okay.
So that'd be less than 10.
So I'm confused. I thought the 55,000 included the spray plus the guardrail.
No, that's just the brush spray. The guardrail spray they're two totally separate contracts.
Okay,
One's 12 cents a foot, one's 170 a mile.
okay,
So we need two separate motions now?
probably better.
Now you really got me confused.
Yeah.
See, Commissioner
Do
Schmidt
you
make
wanna
the other
withdraw
one.
your motion?
I will withdraw my motion and cede to Commissioner Schmidt.
Okay, I'm good with that. All right, I move that we contract with Dalton, Excavate, Dalton Incorporated to do our brush spraying, not to for 2024, not to exceed $55,000.
I hear a support.
Support?
Okay, I have a motion and support that we contract with Dalton's to do the brush spray for 2024 for not to exceed 55,000. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved.
So then I would move that we contract with Dalton to do our guardrail spraying, in the amount of $8,000,
You could say not to exceed 10.
not to exceed $10,000.
Support.
So I have a motion from Kathy and support from Mark that we contract with Dalton's to do guardrail spraying in 2024 for not to exceed $10,000. Any other comments, questions? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That was approved as well.
All right, moving on, just as an informational thing, we're in the process of doing a letter for the association/union. We found a error in the contract where apparently quite a while ago, 2019, the board made a motion to adjust the mechanics tool allowance pay and added 50 cents to it. But it never got added into the contract. So one mechanic that has been here since then has been getting that. The other two mechanics that are here are new, that are really just coming off their probation or whatever. They're not getting it, and they really should be. And so we're gonna do a letter starting on the 18th is the next payroll. So on the 18th, we're gonna start paying all mechanics that same tool allowance that adds 50 cents to their overall thing. And then any mechanic from here on out that we bring on will get that. The contract says that if we find a clerical error, we can solve it between us and the union just by signing off on it. And so that's what we're gonna do, just a simple letter that we'll both sign off on and keep, and then get into the contract on the next one. So unless you have any issues with that, it affects 2 employees at 50 cents an hour, and we'll just start on the 18th.
What is their tool allowance?
That takes it up to,
80.
yeah, from 30 cents to 80 cents an hour.
80 cents
80 cents.
an hour.
So you're adding 50 cents to it.
And like I said, the one senior mechanic,
What was
he's
that?
been getting
By
it.
my math.
Yeah.
And then any additionals from there. Which brings me to my next thing. We did interviews for vehicle mechanics. We made 2 offers, and so far they both tentatively accepted, but they got like a week to give us back the paperwork if they want. So they go back and talk with their spouses or make sure that's the decision they want. So hopefully here shortly we'll have a couple more coming on board. I really don't want to specify their names yet because they haven't accepted and
Don't have
totally.
to.
So, but tentatively they both said that they're still interested in.
Hopefully they will say yes.
We have posted for the accounts payable clerk position. We've got quite a few applications so far. So probably shortly after the first of the year will be, I think that closes out on the 22nd. And shortly after the first year, we'll do some interviews and see what we can get there. The Boyer truck, the truck, 3 trucks that we're purchasing. So we will be running a check for the one that we're going to purchase outright, and we'll be sending that to them on the next AP.
But today,
Today? Okay.
is in that AP they just approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that will get paid for. I've got the contract here for the lease agreement. It's like a 30-page lease agreement, but basically what it comes down to is the capitalized cost is $774,400. Where the lease payment, this is for both trucks.
The 2 remaining trucks.
The 2 remaining. So the lease payment for the